Hi, Algebra 2. I miss you guys so much, especially with this new thing that we are starting, Conics. Ugh, Conics are my favorite, and I'm so bummed that you can't like see how excited my face is right now, but I'm like so excited. So, when it comes to conics, conic sections have to do with cones. So if we remember back to geometry, like what a cone is, and then when I take a cone and a plane, like a flat surface, and I slice it through that three-dimensional cone. So if you think about the way that that can happen, you get a couple of different things. So the first thing that you can get, I guess the first two things that you can get, you could get a plane slicing through the cone, and you get this parabola shape. So that's super cool. You can also turn your plane so that it slices straight through the cone, and you get a perfect circle. But more interesting is when that plane is not flat anymore and sort of goes sideways, but it's still touching both sides of the cone, you get a stretched out circle called an ellipse. And then if that plane is going vertically, like straight up and down, it happens to go through these double cones, you get a portion of a parabola up here and a portion of a parabola down here. When we have two parts of a graph, if you remember from last chapter, that's called a hyperbola. Now this sheet right here is part of the notes that are attached with this video. In addition to that, we will have this parabola practice one here and a circle practice one. So if you're able to print, that would be great. You can print them out. If not, just do your very best to try to write down some of the things that I write down or suggest. But I'm actually going to set this aside for a second and geek out with you on this. Now, again, like I know you might not have these tools at home, but it's just too cool not to show you. Like I'm just too excited about it. So if you have like any sort of see-through-ish paper, you can try this if you want. But this super cool thing about these new graphs and functions that we're going to talk about, conics, is that you can actually produce them using some new tools that we're going to talk about, like some additional features to your graph that we haven't looked at before. So for the first one, if you take a piece of see-through paper here, which I have some trace paper, and draw a straight line anywhere on the paper, it doesn't matter, just want it to be straight. And then anywhere not on that line, you can put a point, and we'll just, for funsies, call this point F. Okay? Then, and I know that's super shiny and you probably can't see it super good, but here's point F. Then what you want to do is you want to fold so that the point F ends up on your line that we started with. And so I'm folding the paper over, and this is why it's nice to have this see-through paper, because you can see for sure when your point ends up on that line. And then you just want to do this over and over and over again. And the tricky thing is some people think there's only one way to fold it, but there are lots of different ways to fold it, because I just need the point to be on the line. So if I wanted to, I could actually bring the line up to the point, which I feel like is sometimes easier. And the point is on the line, so I can make this fold right here. And so what I end up doing, and I did this earlier, is I just like make a little scooch, and I fold it again, make a little scooch, and fold it again. So I'm just scooching that line along that point and getting a whole bunch of folds, like over and over and over again. And the more folds you can get, the better you can see what's going to start happening here. And so just to save us some time, I did this earlier. I drew my line and a point F not on the line, and you end up with this super cool shape right here, which hopefully you see is a parabola. So perfect, so good. Ugh, I love it. So like I said, that's one of the conics that we're going to talk about. Another one we can do is I draw a circle. So I have a super fancy compass, but if you don't, if you just have some sort of circular thing that you can trace, you just want a nice circle on there, not too big, not too small. And part of the circle is that we have the center, so you do want to make sure you know where your center is. I'm going to call that C for center. So the circle is kind of taking place of our line. The first time we had a line, this time we have a circle, and we're still going to place the point F. Now there are just a couple different places that F could be. So that point F could be inside the circle. So I can take point F and put it inside the circle. And just like we did with the last one, we're going to fold so that point F ends up on the circle. So again, this is kind of why it's nice to have that see-through paper. And you can get a whole bunch of different folds. So I'm just scooching the circle along that point F and getting fold after fold after fold after fold. And if you do this forever, and like I was sitting watching, can't even lie, YouTube videos about Survivor while I was folding this earlier today. So I did this one, circle, point F inside the circle earlier. And when I did it before, this is what I had. And what you notice is you start to get this shape in here that looks like an oblong circle. So that one gets us our ellipse. Okay, so keep these in mind. I'm going to come back to each of these. Okay, so we got that one. The next one we could do is with that circle again. So I can trace a circle, and it can be any circle. It doesn't have to be the same one. Okay, so circle. Make sure we mark where our center is. And then instead of putting point F inside the circle, if we put point F outside the circle, and then fold, 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 so I'm getting that point F on the circle, and just folding a bunch of times. So like that's one easy one. This is another easy one, getting it all the way over here. But then just like over and over and over again. So you're just scooching it along that circle. And if you're bored, because I know you are, I mean, why not? Just fold a piece of paper a bunch of times. You just really need to be able to see through it. I mean, what else have you got to do? Okay, so anyways, you do that over and over and over again. Like I said, during Survivor, I was doing this, and I ended up with this. I don't know if you can see it. I feel like you can. It's so cool. You get this hyperbola thing going on because you got like a parabola over here. It's like outside the circle close to F. And then this other part of it here going kind of through the circle with point C right here. It's so neat. Ugh. Now, the other thing that can happen with your circle, so if you draw a circle, and I already drew this last one, is I can put, C for center, I could put point F right on the edge of the circle. Now if I do that, I'm just folding the circle on itself and I just get a circle, and so that's kind of our last one. So let's see, can I fit these all on here? We have our circle, we have our parabola, we have our hyperbola here, and our ellipse right there. Oh my god, what beauties. Now, when we kind of look through these, they have all the shapes that we've talked about, but they have these additional things that we need to look at now. The important part about each of these was that I started by drawing either a line or a circle. So the line with this parabola has a name. It's called the Directrix line. The other ones don't really have a line, they have a circle, but the circle was important. But the other thing that we talked about with all of these was this point F. We had a point F that was on all of them. And the point F on all of them is actually called the focus. So we have a focus here. But the interesting thing is, with the ellipse and our hyperbola, we have the focus, but we also had another point involved, and that was the center. And it's really interesting to notice maybe something unique about how the center and the focus are kind of related to each other and to the graphs that are actually formed by them. Same thing with your ellipse, like you have the center here and the focus here, and how the center and the focus are like related to or doing something along with that ellipse. The same thing is true for your focus, but not compared to another point on the Directrix, but the focus and as it's compared to the Directrix line. So a really interesting thing that happens, and I know if I had you guys here and we were all discussing this together, you would see it and you would find it super quick. But if I were to draw a line from the focus, and that was the worst color to pick ever, to the edge of the parabola, if I draw that same line straight down to the directrix, those lines are equidistant. And you can go anywhere on the parabola and do this. So like if I were to pick a better color and draw a line here to here, this point right here, as long as I go down perpendicularly to the line, these lines will be the same length no matter where I go. And hopefully that makes sense, because that's how I folded it. I was folding it so this would get to that, and so I was always finding a middle. So the focus and directrix are equidistant from the parabola. And like if I take a look at the hyperbola and the ellipse right here, I think it's really interesting to notice that the focus, if I go to the hyperbola here, and if I go from the center to the same spot, they look to be the same length away as well. And similarly for the ellipse. Now, there's a very brief like introduction sort of thing. And we talked about a little bit, not so much a circle. This circle, I mean, it's a circle, what can I say? It's cute, it's fun, it's whatever. We're gonna get into some of the details with this, and guys, the way that I used to do this in class was I had a bunch of cards and we would sort the cards over and over and over again. So we're going to try to simulate that through Desmos, but I'm just going to need you to be super open and honest with me about if it's too much, if it's not working, if we need to change it or whatever. Okay, so setting these things aside, today and this week I really just want to focus on parabolas and circles. So for this, and I know this seems a little bit scary, but kind of going through this video, we talked about some things that were unique to a parabola and some things a little bit about a circle, not too much. Or maybe you remember some things from geometry about circles and how we graph them, or what is unique about a circle. So what I'm asking you guys to do is to write down some things that you know. So I'm going to post this in the assignment for you to just take some notes. Don't worry if you don't get a lot. Everybody's going to do this so we can share out what additional things we get, and then I'm going to add like a master copy that you guys will be able to see on Wednesday and copy in here. So that is all for now.